The 1960s weren't just about muscle cars and moon landings, it was also the decade when American tractor companies went absolutely wild. Giants were built, experiments rolled off factory lines, and some machines shocked the entire farming world, only to vanish into obscurity. Today we're digging up 10 forgotten American tractors of the 60s, machines so powerful, so strange, and so ahead of their time that most people have never even heard of them. Trust me, you won't look at tractors the same way after this one. Number 1. Minneapolis Moline G1000. When Minneapolis Moline introduced the G1000 in the mid-1960s, it was one of the most powerful row crop tractors on the market. With nearly 100 PTO horsepower from a 6-cylinder engine, it represented a leap forward at a time when most farmers were still operating tractors in the 50-70 horsepower range. The G1000 was built for serious work, plowing, tillage, and heavy pulling tasks that smaller tractors simply couldn't handle. What shocked many farmers was its durability. The G1000 was over-engineered, built heavier than its competitors, with a robust frame and a transmission designed to handle punishing workloads. Its hydraulic system was also advanced for its day, offering farmers smoother control of implements. The operator's station, while not luxurious, was spacious and thoughtfully designed, with controls laid out in a way that made long workdays a bit more bearable. Yet despite all these strengths, the G1000 is often forgotten today. Part of the reason lies in branding. Minneapolis Moline was struggling financially in the 1960s, and it lacked the marketing muscle of John Deere or International Harvester. Even though the G1000 was a great machine, fewer were sold, and over time many were worked to death in the field rather than preserved. Collectors who know tractors appreciate the G1000 for its toughness and its role as one of the most advanced Minneapolis Moline machines. But outside those circles, it rarely gets the spotlight. It was a tractor that quietly shocked the world with its power and strength, and then faded into the background as larger companies dominated the conversation. Number 2. Oliver 770. Oliver built a reputation in the mid-20th century for quality tractors that combined reliable engineering with farmer-friendly designs. The Oliver 770, produced during the 1960s, was a prime example of this philosophy. It wasn't the flashiest tractor on the market, nor did it have the most horsepower, but it earned a loyal following thanks to its dependable torque and balanced performance. The 770 came with a 6-cylinder engine that delivered around 44 PTO horsepower, which doesn't sound like much today but was more than enough for medium-sized farms of the era. What set it apart was not raw power, but the way it delivered that power. The tractor's torque curve was excellent, making it capable of handling jobs that might overwhelm other machines in its class. Farmers appreciated that the 770 could pull hard without stalling or bogging down. Another feature that made the 770 appealing was its straightforward design. Maintenance and repairs were relatively simple, with components laid out for easy access. In an era when more tractors were starting to incorporate complex systems, the 770 remained approachable, something a farmer could fix in the barn with basic tools. That made it a practical choice for operations where downtime during planting or harvest could be devastating. So why is it forgotten today? The Oliver brand itself eventually disappeared after mergers and acquisitions, and its tractors never reached the iconic status of John Deere or Farmall. The 770 was used heavily on farms until it wore out, and many didn't survive in collectible condition. But for those who remember it, the Oliver 770 represents a time when dependable engineering mattered more than flashy marketing. It's an underdog machine that deserves more recognition. Number 3. Allis-Chalmers D17. The Allis-Chalmers D17 is one of those tractors that farmers either remember fondly or forget entirely. Introduced in 1957 and sold well into the 1960s, it occupied an interesting spot in Allis-Chalmers' lineup, not the biggest or the smallest, but one of the most practical machines for medium-duty farm work. The D17 featured a 4-cylinder gasoline or diesel engine that produced around 60 horsepower. While not a record breaker, it had the right mix of power and efficiency to make it a versatile tool for a wide variety of tasks. Farmers used the D17 for everything from plowing and disking to baling hay and hauling wagons. One of its standout features was its power director transmission, which allowed operators to shift between high and low ranges on the go. This gave the tractor flexibility in the field and made it easier to adapt to changing conditions. The D17 also improved operator comfort compared to earlier Allis-Chalmers models. Its design placed controls within easy reach, and while it didn't have the luxury of enclosed cabs that would come later, it was clearly designed with long workdays in mind. Farmers appreciated these little details, even if the tractor itself didn't make headlines. So why is the D17 often overlooked? Allis-Chalmers tractors, in general, didn't achieve the lasting cultural impact of John Deere or International Harvester machines. The D17 was also overshadowed in its own time by the larger D19, which drew more attention with higher horsepower. As a result, the D17 became something of a sleeper, reliable, well-liked, but not celebrated. Today, collectors and enthusiasts value the D17 for exactly those reasons. It's a straightforward, dependable tractor that did the job without fuss. It may not have shocked the world with revolutionary design, but it shocked farmers by being a better everyday companion than they expected. Number 4. Ford 5000. In 1965, Ford introduced the 5000, a tractor that quickly found its place on medium-sized farms across America. With about 70 horsepower, the Ford 5000 was designed to be versatile, affordable, and tough enough for serious fieldwork. It was neither the largest nor the flashiest tractor of its time, but it surprised farmers with its reliability and adaptability. The 5000 featured a 4-cylinder diesel engine that was known for efficiency and durability. Its transmission offered multiple gear ranges, giving farmers flexibility in matching speeds to tasks. Whether it was plowing fields, hauling wagons, or running PTO-driven implements, the 5000 could do it all. Many owners came to see it as a Swiss Army knife of tractors, not the star of the show, but the one you could always count on. One of the tractor's key advantages was affordability. Ford intentionally positioned the 5000 to be within reach of mid-sized farm operations, which were the backbone of American agriculture at the time. For farmers who couldn't justify spending on the massive high-horsepower tractors emerging in the 1960s, the 5000 was a practical compromise. The shock factor came from how well the tractor performed for its size and price. Farmers often found themselves impressed that such a modest machine could handle jobs they thought required bigger equipment. That reputation for punching above its weight made it a beloved machine in many rural communities. Despite its popularity, the Ford 5000 is less remembered today, partly because it was overshadowed by Ford's larger models and by John Deere's dominance in marketing. Many were simply used until they wore out, leaving fewer survivors for collectors. But in its time, the Ford 5000 shocked the world by proving that a mid-sized tractor could deliver big performance without a big price tag. Number 5. International Harvester 806. The International Harvester 806, released in the mid-1960s, was a tractor with big ambitions. Rated at around 94 horsepower, it was designed to give farmers serious pulling power and a comfortable operator experience. IH marketed the 806 as a tractor that could do it all: row crop work, heavy tillage, and everything in between. The 806 was available with both gasoline and diesel engines, with the diesel versions proving especially popular thanks to their durability and fuel economy. Farmers praised its transmission and hydraulic system, which made it easier to handle a wide range of implements. The tractor also came with options like a 3-point hitch and power steering, making it more versatile than many competitors. What shocked farmers at the time was just how capable the 806 was for its size. It wasn't the largest tractor on the market, but it could keep up with much bigger machines in many situations. That combination of power and practicality made it a strong contender in the increasingly competitive tractor market of the 1960s. So why did it fade into the background? Timing played a big role. International Harvester was going through internal struggles during the 1960s, and the 806 didn't receive the same level of marketing push as John Deere's iconic 4020. As a result, it never achieved the legendary status it might have deserved. Farmers who bought them loved them, but the 806 was overshadowed in the public eye. Today, the 806 is remembered mostly by collectors and IH enthusiasts. It represents a fascinating what-if in tractor history. a model that had all the ingredients to become famous, but ended up as a hidden gem instead. Number 6. John Deere 4320. The John Deere 4020 is one of the most famous tractors of all time, often called the most popular tractor of the 20th century. But just a few years later, Deere released the 4320, a model that quietly built on the 4020's success while offering improvements that many farmers overlooked at the time. The 4320 came with a turbocharged diesel engine producing about 116 horsepower, a big jump over the 4020. This made it one of the most powerful two-wheel drive tractors Deere had ever built up to that point. Its power and reliability made it capable of handling larger implements and covering more acres in less time. Farmers were shocked by the tractor's performance. At a time when turbocharging was still relatively new in agriculture, the 4320 proved that it could deliver consistent, reliable power without sacrificing efficiency. The tractor also offered improved hydraulics and better operator comfort compared to earlier Deere models. So why is it forgotten compared to the 4020? The timing worked against it. By the time the 4320 was released in 1971, Deere was already preparing to launch even larger and more advanced tractors. The 4320 was sold for only a short period, and while it impressed farmers, it didn't stick around long enough to become iconic. Today, collectors see the 4320 as a kind of hidden giant, a tractor that combined the best of the 4020 with more muscle, yet never got the recognition it deserved. For farmers of the time, it shocked the world with its turbocharged power, even if history didn't give it the same spotlight as its famous cousin. Number 7. Cockshut 550. While Cockshut was a Canadian company, its tractors were sold widely in the United States, and the Cockshut 550 earned a reputation as a reliable mid-sized tractor during the 1960s. Producing around 45 horsepower, it was well suited for dairy farms, mixed crop operations, and smaller row crop farms. What shocked many farmers was how versatile and easy to use the 550 was. It featured a Perkins engine known for dependability, and it offered a range of gear options that made it adaptable for field work, loader use, and even specialized tasks like orchard work. Its compact size and tight turning radius made it especially useful on smaller farms with less open space. The 555 was also praised for its operator-friendly design. Controls were logically arranged, and the tractor was comfortable to operate for long hours. While it didn't have the cab innovations of bigger tractors, it provided a level of ease that many farmers hadn't experienced before. So why is it forgotten today? Cockshut as a brand disappeared after being absorbed by White Motor Corporation, and its tractors were often rebadged under different names. That brand confusion means fewer people remember the 550 as distinctly Cockshut. In addition, many 550s were simply worked into the ground, with few surviving examples in pristine condition. Today, the Cockshut 550 is a collector's item for those who appreciate tractors that were overachievers in their class. It shocked the world not with raw power, but with how much it could do for its size and simplicity. Number 8. Massey Ferguson 1100. The Massey Ferguson 1100, introduced in the mid-1960s, was meant to be Massey's entry into the high-horsepower tractor market. With about 95 PTO horsepower, it was a serious machine designed to compete with John Deere and International Harvester. Powered by a Perkins diesel engine, the 1100 delivered strong performance and was marketed as a modern, stylish tractor for the new age of farming. Farmers were shocked by how automotive the 1100 felt. Its sleek styling, more comfortable operator's station, and advanced hydraulics made it seem like a step into the future compared to older Massey models. It represented a bold attempt to give farmers not only power but also the kind of comfort and refinement that would become standard in later decades. However, the 1100 also developed a mixed reputation. Early models had reliability issues, particularly with the multi-power transmission, which could be prone to problems. For farmers who demanded absolute dependability, this was a deal-breaker. The issues were not universal, but they were enough to tarnish the tractor's image. As a result, the 1100 never achieved the legendary status Massey had hoped for. It was quickly overshadowed by the larger 1130 and 1150 models, which ironed out many of the early problems. Today, the 1100 is often overlooked, but it remains an important part of Massey Ferguson history. For its time, the 1100 shocked farmers with its modern design and ambition. It showed that Massey was serious about competing in the big leagues, even if the execution wasn't perfect. Collectors who find one today see it as a bold but flawed experiment from a pivotal decade in tractor design. Number 9. Case 1200 Traction King. When J.I. Case introduced the 1200 Traction King in 1963, it was nothing short of revolutionary. This was America's first factory-built four-wheel drive tractor, a concept that had previously only been seen in custom-built or experimental machines. With its massive articulated frame and over 100 horsepower from a 6-cylinder diesel engine, the Traction King shocked farmers with its size, power, and futuristic design. The 1200 was designed for one thing: brute pulling power. Its 4WD system allowed it to tackle heavy clay soils and steep fields that two-wheel drive tractors struggled with. Farmers who adopted the 1200 found that it could pull larger implements and work more acres in less time than anything they had ever owned. For large-scale farming operations, it was a game-changer. What shocked many was not just its performance, but its sheer presence. At a time when most tractors were relatively compact, the 1200 looked and felt enormous. Its articulated steering system also took some getting used to, as it handled very differently from conventional tractors. Despite its groundbreaking design, the 1200 was not a huge commercial success. It was expensive, and many farms in the 1960s simply weren't large enough to justify such a powerful machine. As a result, relatively few were sold, making surviving examples rare today. Still, the Case 1200 Traction King deserves to be remembered as a pioneer. It paved the way for the massive 4WD tractors that would dominate American agriculture in the 1970s. At the time, it shocked the world by showing just how far tractor technology could go. Number 10. John Deere 5010. The John Deere 5010, released in 1963, was one of the largest tractors of its time. With a 531 cubic inch diesel engine producing about 121 PTO horsepower, it was a true monster compared to most tractors on the market. Deere marketed it as the answer for large farms that needed to pull more bottoms and cover more ground than ever before. The shock factor was immediate. Farmers had never seen a tractor this big from John Deere. Its raw power and size made it capable of tackling heavy tillage and large implements that were beyond the reach of smaller models. For those who could afford it and had the acreage to justify it, the 5010 was a dream machine. But in reality, the 5010 was ahead of its time. In the early 1960s, most American farms were still too small to take full advantage of such a powerful tractor. Implements weren't always available to match its capabilities, and many farmers found it impractical compared to the more versatile 4020. The 5010 also had a relatively short production run before being replaced by the upgraded 5020, which fixed some of its shortcomings. As a result, the 5010 slipped into obscurity, overshadowed by both the 420's legendary success and the improvements of the 5020. Today, the 5010 is remembered by enthusiasts as a fascinating piece of history. It showed that John Deere was willing to push the limits of tractor design, even if the market wasn't ready. For its time, it shocked the world with sheer size and horsepower, but it came just a little too soon to achieve lasting fame. Those were the 10 forgotten American tractors of the 60s, machines that shocked farmers back then but slipped through the cracks of history. Some were underdogs, some were giants, and some were simply too far ahead of their time. Which one do you think deserves a comeback? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip down tractor history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and check out my next video, where we uncover even more machines that changed farming forever.